My 17-year-old son kept sneaking out at night. The truth changed our lives forever. Stood in the doorway of my son's empty bedroom at 2:47 a.m. My heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The window was open again, curtains billowing in the cold night air. This was the fourth time this week. My hands trembled as I picked up the note he'd left on his pillow, just 3 words scrawled in his handwriting: Dad. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? What was my 17-year-old son doing that required apologies in the dead of night? I grabbed my jacket and car keys, my mind racing with every parent's worst nightmare. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what I was about to discover. My name is Robert Mitchell, and until 3 months ago, I thought I knew everything about my son. Alex, I was wrong. It started the week after his 17th birthday. Sarah, my wife of 19 years, had just left for a 2-month nursing contract overseas, something she did twice a year. It was just Alex and me in our suburban home in Portland, Oregon. 2 guys trying to navigate life without the woman who held us together. Alex had always been the perfect kid. Honor roll student, captain of the debate team, volunteered at the local animal shelter every Saturday. He had this way of moving through life that made everything look effortless. His sandy brown hair always perfectly tousled, his green eyes bright with intelligence and humor. People always said he got his looks from Sarah, and his analytical mind from me. But something changed after his birthday. The first night I noticed something was off. I'd fallen asleep on the couch watching a late-night documentary about World War II. I woke up around 1 a.m. to use the bathroom, and as I passed Alex's room, I noticed his door was slightly ajar. Normally, he kept it closed. I pushed it open, expecting to see him asleep, maybe with his bedside lamp still on because he'd fallen asleep reading. The bed was empty, made like he'd never been in it. My stomach dropped. I checked the bathroom, the kitchen, even the garage. His bike was gone. I called his cell phone 3 times. It went straight to voicemail. I stood in our living room, torn between calling the police and giving him 10 more minutes. What kind of father doesn't know where his 17-year-old son is at 1 in the morning? He came back at 2:15 a.m. I heard the garage door open, then the soft sound of his bike being placed back in its spot. He walked in through the kitchen door, still wearing his jacket, nearly jumped out of his skin when he saw me sitting at the kitchen table. Dad, I thought you were asleep. Where were you? My voice came out harsher than I intended. Fueled by 3 hours of terror, Alex's face went through a series of expressions: surprise, guilt, then something I couldn't quite read. Fear, maybe? I couldn't sleep. I went for a bike ride. At 1 in the morning? I do it sometimes. It helps me think. It wouldn't meet my eyes. I wanted to push harder, but he looked so vulnerable standing there in our kitchen. His hair messed up from the wind, his cheeks flushed from the cold. This was Alex, my son, who had never given me a reason not to trust him. So I swallowed my interrogation and said, "Next time, leave me a note." "You scared me." "I'm sorry, Dad." "I will." He gave me a weak smile and headed upstairs. I should have known then that something was deeply wrong, but I let it go. The second time it happened, I was ready. I'd been sleeping lighter, some parental instinct keeping me alert. At 12:43 a.m., I heard the subtle creak of his window opening. I gave him 5 minutes. Then I went to his room. Empty again. This time I noticed something I'd missed before his laptop was open on his desk, the screen dark but humming with power. I touched the trackpad and it lit up. He'd been on Google Maps. The location was zoomed in on a spot about 3 miles from our house, Riverside Park. Specifically, the old boathouse by the lake. Why would a 17-year-old boy sneak out to an abandoned boathouse in the middle of the night? The scenarios that ran through my mind were all bad. Drugs, some kind of gang activity, meeting up with the wrong crowd. Alex had always been so responsible, so focused on his future. But teenage years could change a kid fast. I'd seen it happen to other parents' children. I decided to follow him the next time. I felt guilty about it, like I was violating his privacy, but the fear was stronger than the guilt. The third night, I was sitting in my car down the street, engine off, watching our house. At 12:30 a.m., Alex's bedroom light went off. At 12:52 a.m., I saw a shadow move past his window. A minute later, he emerged from our side gate, walking his bike to keep it quiet. He was wearing dark clothes jeans and a black hoodie. I waited until he turned the corner. Then I started my car and followed at a distance. Riverside Park at night was something out of a horror movie. The old oak trees cast long shadows across the empty parking lot. The boathouse sat at the edge of the lake, a weathered structure that the city had promised to renovate for the past 5 years but never did. Alex left his bike by a tree and walked toward the building. That's when I saw the other figure, another boy, roughly Alex's age, was standing by the boathouse entrance. Even from a distance, I could see he was taller than Alex, with dark hair that caught the moonlight. He was wearing a leather jacket and jeans. When Alex approached, the other boy's whole posture changed. He straightened up. Even from 50 yards away, I could sense the energy between them. They didn't hug. They just stood there for a moment, looking at each other. Then the taller boy said something that made Alex laugh. They walked together into the boathouse. I sat in my car for 45 minutes, my mind spinning. Was this about drugs? Was Alex buying from this kid? But nothing about their interaction suggested a transaction. It looked like they were friends. Or something more. At 2:17 a.m., they emerged. They stood outside the boathouse talking, and at one point, the taller boy reached out and adjusted Alex's hood, pulling it up over his head because the night had turned cold. It was such a tender gesture, so intimate, that something clicked in my brain. I drove home in a daze, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. I beat Alex home by 10 minutes, went straight to my bedroom, and sat on the edge of the bed in the dark. My son was sneaking out to meet a boy. My son might be gay. I need to be honest about what I felt in that moment. It wasn't disgust or disappointment. I want to be clear about that. It was shock. And underneath the shock was a wave of guilt so powerful it made me nauseous. How had I not known? What kind of father doesn't see this about his own child? And then worse, had I made him feel like he couldn't tell me? I thought about every conversation we'd ever had about dating. Sarah and I had always assumed Alex would bring home a girl eventually. We'd joked about it, made casual comments about his future wife, asked him if there were any girls at school he liked. He'd always deflected with humor, and we'd never pushed. Had every deflection been a moment where he wanted to tell us the truth but couldn't. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed and replayed 17 years of memories, looking for signs I'd missed. Alex had never been interested in traditionally masculine things. He didn't care about sports, preferred reading to roughhousing, had always been more emotionally articulate than other boys his age. But I'd never thought. At breakfast the next morning, Alex looked exhausted. He'd clearly gotten even less sleep than me. He poured himself coffee black, the way I took mean, and sat across from me at the kitchen table. "You okay, buddy?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Yeah, just tired." He stared into his coffee cup like it held the answers to the universe. "You've been staying up late a lot recently." His eyes flickered to mine, then away. "School stuff. The debate championship is coming up." He was lying to me. My son was lying to my face, and I didn't know how to bridge the gap between us. "Alex," I started, then stopped. "How do you have this conversation? How do you tell your child that you followed them, that you know their secret, that you just want them to trust you enough to tell you the truth?" "Yeah, Dad. You know you can talk to me about anything, right?" "Anything at all. There's nothing you could tell me that would change how I feel about you." The expression that crossed his face was so complex. Hope, fear, longing, and something that looked like grief all mixed together. For a moment, I thought he was going to say it. I thought he was going to trust me with the truth instead. He smiled that same weak smile from the first night and said, "I know. Dad, thanks." Then he grabbed his backpack and left for school, leaving me alone with my cold coffee and the crushing weight of the distance between us. I called Sarah that night. It was morning in Romania, and she answered on the second ring, her face pixelated on the video call. "Robert, is everything okay? You look terrible." "I'm fine. I need to talk to you about Alex." I told her everything, the sneaking out, the other boy, my suspicions. She listened without interrupting, her nurse's face on calm, analytical. Processing information. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "How do you feel about it?" "How do I feel? Sarah, I don't care if he's gay. I just want him to feel like he can tell us. I want to help him, but I don't know how." "Then tell him that." "I can't just—" "Sarah, I followed him. He doesn't know I know. If I bring it up now, he'll feel violated. He'll think I was spying on him." "You were spying on him?" "I was protecting him. He's 17 and sneaking out to meet some boy we don't know at an abandoned boathouse in the middle of the night. What if something happens to him? What if Robert—" Her voice cut through my spiraling anxiety. "Listen to yourself. You're catastrophizing. If Alex is gay and he's seeing someone, that's not a crisis. That's just life. The crisis is that he doesn't feel safe telling us." She was right. Of course she was right. So what do I do? You let him come to you in his own time. You make it clear through your actions and your words that your home is a safe space, and you be patient. Being patient turned out to be the hardest thing I'd ever done. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Alex transform. He started smiling more, humming to himself while he did homework. He'd check his phone and get this soft expression on his face that made my heart ache. He was happy. Whatever was happening with this boy, it was making my son genuinely happy. But he was also still lying to me every single night. He'd say goodnight, go to his room, and then sneak out around midnight. I stopped following him. Sarah was right about that being a violation, but I always stayed up until I heard him come home, usually between 2 and 3 a.m. I started leaving casual openings in our conversations. I mentioned a colleague at work whose son had just come out. I talked about the importance of being true to yourself. I even watched a movie with an LGBT+ storyline and made positive comments about it. Alex's responses were always carefully neutral. He was testing the waters, I realized. Seeing if I really meant what I was saying, the 4th night that I found his room empty. I found the note on his pillow. "Dad, I'm sorry. That's what broke me. That's what had me standing in his empty room at 2:47 a.m., note in hand, jacket and car keys in the other. Because I'm sorry meant he thought he was doing something wrong. I'm sorry meant he was carrying guilt and shame for something that should bring him joy." I got in my car and drove to Riverside Park. The boathouse was dark when I arrived, but I could see light coming through the cracks in the walls, probably from a flashlight or phone. I parked and walked toward the building, my footsteps loud on the gravel path. I didn't try to be quiet. I wasn't sneaking anymore. I pushed open the boathouse door. Inside, illuminated by battery-powered lanterns, Alex and the other boy were sitting on an old blanket spread across the floor. They had a thermos between them, probably hot chocolate based on the smell, and they were sitting close. Taller boy's arm around Alex's shoulders. They both jumped when I walked in. Alex's face went white. "Dad." The other boy stood up immediately, putting himself slightly in front of Alex in a protective stance. Up close, I could see he was handsome and a striking way dark eyes, strong jawline, and an intensity in his gaze that suggested he'd had to grow up faster than he should have. "Mr. Mitchell?" His voice was deeper than I expected. "I'm Ethan. Ethan Cross." "Ethan?" I looked between the two of them. Alex had stood up too, and he looked absolutely terrified. "Alex, can we talk?" "Dad, I can explain. I'm not here to yell at you." I took a breath, trying to channel every ounce of Sarah's calm rationality. "I'm here because I found your note, and you said you were sorry. I need you to understand something. You have nothing to be sorry for." Alex's eyes filled with tears. "You don't understand, then help me understand, please." Ethan squeezed Alex's hand. I saw the gesture. Saw the way Alex's whole body relaxed slightly at the touch, and then said quietly, "I should go. Give you just some space." "No." The word came out more forcefully than I intended. "No, Ethan, you should stay. Because whatever my son wants to tell me, it involves you. And I'd like to meet the person who's important enough to my son that he's been sneaking out every night to see you." Ethan looked at Alex, silently asking permission. Alex nodded, and they both sat back down on the blanket. I grabbed an old crate and sat down too, the 3 of us forming a small circle in the dim light. "How long have you two been seeing each other?" I asked. trying to keep my voice gentle. 3 months, Alex said quietly. Since my birthday, and you couldn't tell me because I didn't know how you'd react? Alex's voice cracked. Dad, you and Mom have spent 17 years asking me about girls. 17 years of just assuming I'd be like every other straight guy. How was I supposed to just come out and say, hey, actually I'm gay, and I'm dating someone? The pain in his voice was like a knife to my chest. Alex, and it's not just about you and Mom. He was on a roll now, tears streaming down his face. It's about everyone. Do you know what it's like to walk through school every day knowing that if people found out, everything would change? Some of my friends would be cool with it, sure, but some wouldn't. And the guys on the debate team, they make gay jokes all the time. They don't mean anything by it, but it means something to me. Ethan had his arm around Alex again, letting him cry into his shoulder. I watched them together and saw something so pure, so genuine, that it made my own eyes sting. Tell me how you met, I said softly. Ethan looked surprised by the question. You want to know? I want to know everything. Alex wiped his eyes and gave me a watery smile. It was at the bookstore downtown. I was looking for a book on debate strategies, and Ethan was in the same aisle looking for philosophy books. We both reached for the same book at the same time, this anthology of famous speeches. Our hands touched and he trailed off, blushing even in the dim light. Ethan continued the story, a small smile on his face. And I did the stupidest thing. I just stared at him. This beautiful guy with green eyes and messy hair, and I completely forgot how to speak. Alex thought I was trying to intimidate him into giving up the book. I did not. Alex protested, laughing through his tears. You did? You got all defensive and said I could have the book if I wanted it that badly. And then Ethan said, I don't want the book. I want to know your name. Alex's voice had gone soft, fond. It was the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. I looked at Ethan. You don't go to Alex's school? No, sir. I go to Lincoln High. I'm a senior. He paused, then added, I'm 18. And your parents? Do they know about Alex? The look that crossed Ethan's face was pure grief. My parents kicked me out when I came out last year. I'm living with my aunt and uncle. They're better. They let me be myself.
Ow!
Oh, God. This boy had been through hell, and here he was, treating my son with such obvious care and tenderness. I'm sorry, I said to Ethan. You deserved better than that. He looked startled. Thank you, sir. And you? I turned to Alex. Deserved better than feeling like you had to sneak around and hide who you are. That's on me and your mom. We should have made it clear that we'd love you no matter what, Dad. Alex's voice broke. I mean it. Alex, you are my son. My brilliant, kind, thoughtful son. And if you're gay, then you're a brilliant, kind, thoughtful gay son. Nothing about you has changed in my eyes, except that now I understand you a little better. The tears were flowing freely now from both Alex and me. Ethan looked like he was trying very hard to keep his own emotions in check. So you're not mad? Alex asked, his voice small. I'm not mad. I'm hurt that you felt you couldn't tell me, but I understand why. And I'm sorry for every time I made an assumption about your future that didn't leave room for who you really are.
Alex
launched himself at me, nearly knocking us both over, and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. I held my son and let him cry, and I didn't care that we were in an abandoned boathouse at 3 a.m. This was the most important conversation we'd ever had, when Alex finally pulled back. He was smiling, really smiling, the kind of joy that lit up his whole face. I want you to really meet Ethan, like properly. I stood up and extended my hand to Ethan, who shook it with a firm grip. It's nice to meet you, Ethan. Officially. You too, Mr. Mitchell. Call me Robert. Or Rob. Mr. Mitchell makes me feel old. I looked between the two of them. Now, as glad as I am that we had this talk, it's 3 a.m. on a school night. How about we continue this conversation at home, where it's warm and there aren't suspicious creaking noises coming from the walls? Ethan laughed. The boathouse is kind of creepy, isn't it? Kind of. Son, I'm pretty sure this place is one strong wind away from collapsing. That's what makes it romantic, Alex insisted. Romantic and potentially lethal are not supposed to go together. We packed up their impromptu picnic, the lanterns, the thermos, the blanket, and walked out together. Ethan headed toward a beat-up Honda Civic parked on the far side of the lot. "Ethan," I called out before he could get in his car. He turned back. "Would you like to come over for dinner tomorrow? I'd like to get to know you better. And I'm sure Alex would appreciate not having to sneak around anymore." The hope that bloomed across Ethan's face was beautiful. "I'd like that. Thank you. 6 o'clock. And Ethan, drive safe." "Yes, sir." Alex put his bike in the back of my car, and we drove home in comfortable silence. When we pulled into our driveway, Alex turned to me and said, "Dad, thank you for not freaking out." "Thank your mother. She's the one who talked sense into me when I first found out." "Wait, Mom knows?" "I called her 2 weeks ago. She's known the whole time. And she didn't tell me?" "She wanted you to feel ready to tell us yourself. Although she did send me a very long list of resources about supporting LGBTQ teens, which I've been reading obsessively." Alex laughed, then grew serious. "I want to tell her myself. When she gets home, of course. But maybe call her tomorrow? She'll want to hear your voice." "I will." We went inside, and for the first time in weeks, Alex went straight to his bedroom and actually went to sleep. I heard his soft snores through the wall and finally let myself relax. The next day, I left work early to prepare dinner. I'd called Sarah again that morning and told her everything. She'd cried happy tears. She insisted and made me promise to video call her after Ethan left so she could talk to Alex. I made my specialty: homemade lasagna, garlic bread, and a Caesar salad. I also stopped by the bakery and picked up a chocolate cake because if there was ever an occasion that called for cake, this was it. Ethan arrived at exactly 6 o'clock, holding a bouquet of flowers. "For the house," he explained, looking nervous. "My aunt said, you should always bring something when you're invited to dinner." "Oh, your aunt raised you right." Come in. Come in." Alex came down the stairs, and the way his face lit up when he saw Ethan made my heart swell. They did that thing where they just looked at each other for a moment, having an entire conversation with their eyes. Dinner was surprisingly easy. Ethan was polite but not stiff, and he had a sharp sense of humor that matched Alex's perfectly. They told me stories about their time together, trips to the bookstore, late-night conversations about philosophy and life, debates about which superhero would win in various scenarios. "Alex argues that Batman would beat Superman in a fair fight," Ethan said, shaking his head, "which is objectively wrong. Batman has prep time and kryptonite." Alex protested. "Superman can literally move faster than light. Prep time means nothing." I watched them bicker with a smile on my face. This was what young love looked like: comfortable, playful, full of inside jokes and gentle teasing. "So Ethan," I said during a lull in the superhero debate, "tell me about yourself. What are your plans after graduation?" "I'm applying to Portland State for philosophy and pre-law. I want to be a civil rights attorney." He glanced at Alex. "I know what it's like to have your rights dismissed, to feel like the system isn't built for people like you. I want to change that. That's an admirable goal. My aunt thinks I'm crazy. She says lawyers work too hard for too little money. But some things are more important than money." The maturity in his voice, the quiet determination, this wasn't just a teenage crush. Ethan had depth, character, a clear sense of who he was and what he wanted from life. I understood why Alex had fallen for him. After dinner, we moved to the living room. Alex and Ethan sat on the couch, not quite touching, but close enough that I could see the magnetic pull between them. I took my chair and said, "Okay, we need to set some ground rules." Both boys tensed. "Nothing draconian," I added quickly. "But you're both still in high school, and I'm still Alex's parent. So here's what I'm thinking. No more sneaking out in the middle of the night. It's not safe, and frankly, you both need sleep." Let me finish. "Ethan, you're welcome here anytime. After school, weekends, whatever. I'd rather you to spend time together here, where it's warm and safe, than in a creepy boathouse. But on school nights, Ethan needs to leave by 10. On weekends, we can be more flexible." Ethan nodded seriously. "That's more than fair, sir. And Alex, Your mother and I have always had an open-door policy when you have friends over. That doesn't change just because Ethan's your boyfriend. Door stays open when you're in your room. Alex blushed furiously. Dad, I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'm trying to establish boundaries that keep everyone comfortable. These are the same rules we'd have if you were dating a girl. Okay, Alex mumbled. I can live with that. Good. And one more thing, Nathan. I'd like your aunt and uncle's phone number. If you're going to be spending time here, I'd like to talk to them, parent to parent, of course. Ethan pulled out his phone and sent me their contact information. They'll be glad to hear from you. They've been worried about me, about us. They want to make sure Alex is real and not some creepy internet stranger. I laughed. Well, I can confirm that Alex is very real and only moderately creepy. Dad. They stayed for another hour, and I excused myself to give them some privacy. From the kitchen, I could hear their low voices, punctuated by laughter. When it was time for Ethan to leave, I walked him to the door. Thank you for dinner, Rob, and for everything else. You're welcome here any time, Ethan, and I mean that, smiled, then impulsively hugged me. It caught me off guard, but I hugged him back. This kid had been through so much, and if I could provide even a fraction of the acceptance and safety he deserved, I was going to do it. Alex walked Ethan to his car, and I watched from the window as they stood by the driver's side door, talking quietly. Ethan reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind Alex's ear, and Alex smiled in that soft, private way that meant everything. They didn't kiss, they were in full view of the street, but the way they looked at each other said more than any kiss could. When Alex came back inside, it was practically glowing. That went well. It did. I like him, Alex. He's good for you. Yeah, he really is. Alex hesitated, then said, Dad, do you think Mom will be okay with this? Really okay? Your mother loves you more than anything in this world. She's going to be thrilled that you trusted us enough to share this with her. I'm scared to tell other people. Like Grandma and Grandpa, or my friends at school. You don't have to tell anyone until you're ready. This is your journey, your timeline. Your mom and I will support you no matter what you decide. We called Sarah together on video chat. I set up the laptop in the living room, and when her face appeared on screen, Alex burst into tears. Honey, what's wrong? Sarah's face was full of concern. Nothing's wrong. Alex managed through his tears. Mom, I need to tell you something. I'm gay, and I have a boyfriend. His name is Ethan, and he's amazing, and I'm so sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Sarah's face crumpled with emotion. Oh, sweetheart. Come here. She pressed her hand to the screen, and Alex pressed his hand to the same spot. As close to a hug as they could get across 5,000 miles. I'm so proud of you. So proud you're not disappointed. Disappointed? Baby, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that you found someone who makes you happy. I'm thrilled that you felt safe enough to tell us. The only thing I'm disappointed about is that I'm not there to hug you in person. They talked for over an hour. Sarah asked about Ethan, about how they met, about what Alex was feeling. She told him stories about her college roommate who'd come out their sophomore year, and how it had been scary, but ultimately freeing. She promised to be home in 3 weeks, and said she couldn't wait to meet Ethan properly. When we finally hung up, Alex looked exhausted but peaceful. I can't believe how easy that was. It should always be that easy. I'm sorry if we ever made you feel like it wouldn't be. You didn't. I psyched myself out. I was so scared of losing you guys. Never. You'll never lose us. The next few weeks were a revelation. With the secret out, Alex transformed. He smiled more, laughed louder, moved through the world with a confidence I hadn't seen in years. Ethan became a regular fixture at our house, doing homework at our kitchen table, watching movies in our living room. Staying for dinner at least 3 times a week, I got to know him beyond the surface level. And the more I learned, the more I respected him. He worked 20 hours a week at a bookstore to save money for college. He volunteered at an LGBTQ youth center downtown. He'd maintained a 4.0 GPA, despite being kicked out of his home and having to start over with his aunt and uncle. He was also incredibly good for Alex. He challenged him intellectually, supported him emotionally, and brought out a side of my son I hadn't seen before, softer, more open, willing to be vulnerable. One Saturday afternoon, I found them in the living room, Ethan helping Alex practice for an upcoming debate tournament. They were sitting on the floor, surrounded by index cards and research papers. No, Ethan was saying, you're letting your opponent control the narrative. You need to reframe the question entirely. Instead of arguing within their framework, challenge the framework itself.
Ow, but that's risky.
The judges might see it as dodging the question, or they might see it as sophisticated rhetorical strategy. You're good enough to pull it off, Alex. Trust yourself. Alex looked at Ethan with such adoration that I had to turn away. Young love was beautiful, but it was also intensely private. I started calling Ethan's Aunt Margaret regularly. She was a warm woman in her 50s, a high school English teacher who'd taken Ethan in without hesitation when her sister, Ethan's mother, had chosen her homophobic husband over her son. I can't forgive my sister for what she did, Margaret told me during one of our calls, but Ethan is my nephew, and I love him. He deserved better than what they gave him. He's a remarkable young man. You should be proud of what you've done for him. I didn't do anything special. I just loved him. It's not heroic to give a child basic acceptance, and safety, it should be the bare minimum. She was right, of course. But I'd learned enough about the LGBTQ+ community in the past month to know that the bare minimum wasn't always guaranteed. When Sarah came home, it was like a piece of our family puzzle clicked back into place. She met Ethan for the first time at the airport. Alex had insisted on bringing him along for the pickup hand. She hugged him like he was already part of the family. So you're the young man who's been making my son so happy, she said, pulling back to look at him. I try my best, Mrs. Mitchell. Sarah, please. We're not formal around here. She looked between Alex and Ethan, then at me, and smiled. You two are adorable together. Robert, aren't they adorable? They are, I agreed. Alex groaned. Mom, please don't be embarrassing. I'm your mother. It's my job to be embarrassing. That night, after Ethan had gone home, the three of us sat in the living room and talked. Alex told Sarah everything, the fear, the secrecy, the relief of finally being honest. Sarah listened with her whole heart, and when Alex finished, she said, when you were born, I held you in my arms and made a promise. I promised that I would love you unconditionally, that I would protect you, and that I would do everything in my power to help you become whoever you were meant to be. You being gay doesn't change that promise. If anything, it makes it more important. Alex cried. Sarah cried. I might have cried a little too, though I'd deny it if asked. I want to come out at school, Alex said suddenly. Before graduation. I don't want to spend my senior year hiding. Are you sure? Sarah asked gently. There's no rush. I'm sure. I'm tired of being scared. And I have Ethan, and I have you guys, and I have friends who I think will be supportive. I know it won't all be easy, but I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not. Then we'll support you, whatever you decide, I said. If you want to come out publicly, we've got your back. If you want to tell people individually, we've got your back. If you want to take out a billboard on the highway that says Alex Mitchell is gay, we'll help you design it. Alex laughed through his tears. I think I'll skip the billboard. Your loss. I had some great design ideas. Alex came out at school gradually. He started with his closest friends, then expanded to his debate team, then eventually to his teachers and classmates. The response was overwhelmingly positive. A few awkward moments. One or two people who stopped talking to him, but mostly acceptance and support. The debate team threw him a congratulations on your gayness party, which was perhaps the most chaotic and supportive thing I'd ever witnessed. They decorated the classroom with rainbow streamers, made a cake with a frosting flag, and spent 2 hours making increasingly elaborate puns about how Alex had won the debate against heteronormativity. Who'd been invited as Alex's +1, laughed so hard he cried. Your friends are insane. I know, Alex said fondly. I love them. In May, Alex competed in the state debate championship. Ethan, Sarah, and I sat in the audience, watching as Alex commanded the stage with confidence and eloquence. His final argument, a passionate defense of civil rights and equal protection under the law, was delivered with such conviction that I saw several judges wipe their eyes. He took second place. When they announced his name, Ethan jumped to his feet, cheering louder than anyone in the auditorium. Alex's face split into a huge grin, and as he walked off the stage with his trophy, his eyes found Ethan's immediately. After the ceremony, we all went out for dinner. The restaurant was crowded and loud, but our corner booth felt like its own little world. Alex and Ethan sat on one side, Sarah and I on the other, and we celebrated not just the debate victory, but everything that had led to this moment. Can I say something? Ethan raised his water glass. I know this is Alex's night, but I want to thank you, Rob and Sarah. Not every parent would welcome their son's boyfriend the way you've welcomed me. Not every parent would make space at their table, in their home, in their family. You've given me something I didn't think I'd have again, a place where I can just be myself. So thank you. Sarah reached across the table and took Ethan's hand. You're family now, Ethan, whether you like it or not. You're stuck with us. I can live with that, Ethan said. Smiling, we toasted with our water glasses. And I looked around the table at my family, including the addition. It sneaked in through a boathouse window at midnight and changed everything. That summer was magical. Alex and Ethan were inseparable, spending their days exploring Portland. Their evenings on our back porch talking about philosophy and the future. Their weekends volunteering together at the LGBTQ youth center where Ethan had found support after being kicked out. I watched them grow together. Watched them navigate the normal ups and downs of any relationship, small arguments about nothing, making up quickly, learning each other's boundaries and needs. They were so young, but there was something solid about them. Something that suggested they might just make it. In August, Ethan moved into the dorms at Portland State. Alex still had his senior year of high school ahead of him. But they made it work. Video calls every night, weekend visits, study dates at coffee shops between classes. One evening in September, Alex came to me with a serious expression. Dad, can we talk? Of course. What's up? I've been thinking about what I want to do after graduation. And I know we've always talked about me going to Stanford or Yale, shooting for the Ivy League, but I want to stay in Portland. I want to go to Portland State with Ethan. I know it's not as prestigious, but they have a good pre-law program, and I could stay close to home. And Alex, I interrupted gently. You don't have to justify your choices to me. If Portland State is where you want to go, then that's where you should go. You're not disappointed? You've always talked about me going to a top-tier school. I've always talked about you going to a school where you'll be happy and challenged and able to grow. If that's Portland State, wonderful. If it's somewhere else, wonderful. Your education is about you, not about what name is on your diploma. Alex hugged me, relief obvious in every line of his body. Thank you, Dad. Besides, I added, having you close by for a few more years wouldn't be the worst thing. Your mother and I aren't quite ready for the empty nest yet. Alex's senior year flew by. He and Ethan celebrated their 1-year anniversary in October. I let them have the house to themselves for the evening. And when I came home, I found them slow dancing in the living room to music from Ethan's phone. They didn't even notice me come in, too lost in each other. I backed out quietly, giving them their moment. In December, Ethan brought Alex home for Christmas. We'd invited Margaret and her husband too, and our house was full of laughter and warmth. Ethan and Alex exchanged gifts, a first edition philosophy book for Ethan, a leather journal embossed with Alex's initials for Alex, and the tenderness with which they treated each other made Margaret cry. I'm so glad he found you, she whispered to me while the boys were in the kitchen making hot chocolate. After everything he went through with his parents, I was worried he'd close himself off. But Alex brought him back to life.
Alex brought himself back to life too, I said.
They're good for each other. In the spring, college acceptance letters arrived. Alex got into Portland State with a partial scholarship. Ethan was already there, thriving in his philosophy and pre-law program, making connections, building the foundation for his future career. At graduation, Alex gave a speech as class salutatorian. He talked about truth, about authenticity, about the courage it takes to be yourself in a world that often asks you to be someone else. He didn't explicitly mention being gay. He didn't have to. Everyone who'd watched his journey over the past year understood exactly what he was talking about. When he finished, the auditorium erupted in applause. Ethan was on his feet, tears streaming down his face. Sarah gripped my hand so tight it hurt, and I felt a wave of pride so intense it was almost overwhelming. That was my son. That brave, brilliant, authentic young man was my son. After the ceremony, we took pictures, dozens of them. Alex in his cap and gown, Alex with his friends, Alex with Sarah and me, and Alex with Ethan, the two of them looking at each other like they were the only people in the world. One picture in particular became my favorite. Alex and Ethan standing together. Alex's hand on Ethan's chest, Ethan's hand covering Alex's. Both of them smiling with such pure joy that it radiated from the photograph. Sarah had it framed and put it on the mantle. Right next to Alex's baby pictures and school photos, it belonged their moment in time that captured not just who Alex was, but who he was becoming. The summer before Alex left for college, he and Ethan rented a small apartment together off campus. Sarah and I helped them move in, carrying boxes up 3 flights of stairs, arguing about furniture placement, ordering pizza because none of us had the energy to cook. When everything was finally set up, we stood in the middle of their tiny living room, barely big enough for a couch and a TV stand, and I felt that bittersweet ache of parenthood. Your child grows up. Your child moves on. Your child doesn't need you the way they once did. "Dad, are you crying?" Alex asked, concerned. "No, maybe it's dusty in here." "It's not dusty," Sarah said, wiping her own eyes. "We're just proud of you. Both of you." Ethan stepped forward and hugged us both. "Thank you for everything. For accepting us, for supporting us, for treating me like family. I won't forget it." "You better not," Sarah said, mock stern. "Because we expect you both home for Sunday dinners at least twice a month." "We can do that," Alex agreed, smiling. We left them there. 2 young men, starting their lives together, and as Sarah and I drove home, I thought about that night almost a year ago, finding Alex's empty room, the note on his pillow, the terror of not knowing where my son was or what he was doing. If I could go back and talk to that version of myself, I'd say, don't be afraid. Yes, your son is keeping a secret, but it's not the secret you think. And when the truth comes out, it won't break your family. It'll make you stronger. 3 years, Alex and Ethan are still together. Alex is in his 3rd year of pre-law at Portland State. Ethan in his 1st year of law school. They moved to a bigger apartment last year, 2 bedrooms. So they each have space to study. They still come home for Sunday dinners. They still finish each other's sentences and have debates about superhero power scaling. Ethan still helps Alex practice his arguments for moot court. And Alex still brings Ethan coffee during his late-night study sessions. They've had their struggles. Long distance for a semester when Ethan had an internship in Seattle. Financial stress, the normal pressures of school and work and life. But they've worked through all of it with the same patience and commitment they showed from the beginning. Last month, at a family dinner, Ethan cleared his throat nervously. "Rob, Sarah, can I talk to you both for a minute? Privately?" Alex looked confused, but Ethan squeezed his hand and said, "Just give us 5 minutes." We went into the kitchen, leaving Alex in the dining room looking worried. Ethan was visibly nervous, his hands shaking slightly. "What's wrong?" Sarah asked, concerned. "Nothing's wrong. I wanted to ask you both something." Took a deep breath. "Alex and I have been together for 4 years now. We've built a life together, and I can't imagine my future without him in it. So I wanted to ask your permission, both of you, before I propose. I want to marry your son." The silence lasted maybe 3 seconds, but it probably felt like an hour to Ethan. Then Sarah burst into tears and pulled him into a hug. "Yes, of course, yes. You'd make a wonderful addition to this family," I said, my voice rough with emotion. "Though technically you've been part of it for years already. So I have your blessing?" "You have our blessing, our support, and our love," Sarah said. "When are you going to ask him?" "Next month? I'm taking him back to the boathouse at Riverside Park where we used to meet. I know it's run down and kind of creepy, but it's where we fell in love. It feels right. It's perfect," I said, We kept the secret for 5 weeks, the longest 5 weeks of my life. Sarah and I both wanted to say something, to prepare Alex somehow. But we'd promised Ethan we wouldn't spoil the surprise. On a Saturday night in early November, Ethan took Alex to the boathouse. I don't know exactly what he said. Alex told us later that he'd given a speech about first loves and last loves. About how meeting Alex in that boathouse had changed his life, but when they came home 2 hours later, Alex was wearing a simple gold band on his left hand. "We're engaged," he announced, his voice full of wonder. "Ethan asked me to marry him," Sarah screamed. I might have screamed too. There were hugs and tears and laughter, and at some point, someone opened a bottle of champagne we'd been saving for a special occasion. "Did you know?" Alex asked us later, when things had calmed down. "Ethan asked our permission last month," I admitted. "And you didn't tell me?" It was his moment, his proposal. We weren't going to ruin it. Alex looked at Ethan, who smiled sheepishly. "I'm kind of traditional that way. You asked my parents for permission to marry me? I wanted them to know how serious I am about you. About us. And after everything they've done for me, it felt right to include them." Alex kissed him, right there in our living room. And Sarah and I politely looked away. They're planning a summer wedding. Nothing huge, just family and close friends. Sarah's already crying about it, and we're still 8 months away. I pretend to be exasperated, but I'm crying too when I think no one's looking. My son Mai, brilliant, brave, authentic, son found love. Not just puppy love or a high school romance, but the real thing. The kind of love that weathers storms and grows stronger. The kind of love that starts in an abandoned boathouse at midnight and ends up changing everything. Sometimes, I think about that note he left on his pillow, Dad. I'm sorry, if I could go back to that moment. I'd write my own note. "Alex, you have nothing to be sorry for. You were brave enough to go after what you wanted, even when you were scared. You were honest enough to be yourself, even when it was hard. You found someone who sees you, really sees you and loves you, for exactly who you are. That's not something to apologize for. That's something to celebrate." EPIOGUET night. I'm sitting on our back porch watching the sunset. Alex and Ethan are inside with Sarah, arguing about wedding venues and flower arrangements. Through the window, I can see the Molochs gesturing emphatically about something. Ethan laughing, Sarah trying to mediate between them. This is my family. Not the family I imagined 17 years ago when I held my newborn son and dreamed about his future, but the family we've built together through honesty and love and the courage to see each other clearly. The boathouse where they used to meet secretly has been condemned now. The city finally decided it was too much of a liability to leave standing. But before they tore it down, Ethan and Alex went one last time. They took a piece of the old wood, the board they used to sit on during those midnight conversations, and Ethan's working with a carpenter to turn it into a shelf for their apartment. "It's where we started," Alex told me. I want to remember that. I think we all want to remember where we started those moments of fear and uncertainty that ultimately led us to something better. That night I found Alex's room empty, my heart pounding with terror. I couldn't have imagined this outcome. I couldn't have imagined watching my son fall in love, build a life, find happiness with someone who treats him like he hung the moon. But life surprises you. Your children surprise you. And if you're very, very lucky, those surprises lead you somewhere more beautiful than you could have planned. Alex comes out onto the porch and sits beside me. "What are you thinking about?" "How far we've come. How proud I am of you."
Dad, you don't have to. I do, though.
"I need you to know. When you were born, I wanted to give you everything. Love, security, opportunities. But the greatest gift I could give you was the freedom to be yourself. And you had the courage to take that gift and run with it. You made it safe for me to be myself. You and Mom both. Some kids don't have that." "I know. Which is why you and Ethan volunteering at that youth center matters so much. You're paying it forward." Ethan wants to expand the program. He's applying for grants to open a second location in East Portland. Of course he does. That's the man you're going to marry, someone who sees a need and immediately starts figuring out how to fill it. Alex smiles. That soft, private smile he reserves for thoughts of Ethan. I'm really lucky, aren't I? You're both lucky. You found each other? Inside, I can hear Sarah and Ethan's voices raised in animated discussion, not arguing. Just both excited about something. Alex laughs. I should go rescue Ethan. Mom's showing him her scrapbook ideas. Good luck with that. He stands, then pauses. Dad, thank you. For that night. For coming to the boathouse instead of just grounding me. For listening. For everything. Thank you for trusting me with the truth. It's the best gift you've ever given me. He hugs me quickly, then goes back inside to join his fiancée and mother. Through the window, I watch as Ethan pulls Alex close, pressing a kiss to his temple. Sarah's taking pictures, of course, already building the wedding album in her mind. This is my family. This is my life. This is what love looks like when you let it grow without conditions or constraints. And it all started with a note that said, I'm sorry. I'm glad he stopped being sorry. I'm glad he stopped hiding. I'm glad he found the courage to open that boathouse door and let love in, because that door didn't. Just opened for Alex and Ethan, it opened for all of us. And we're all better for walking through it together. The end. If this story touched your heart, please like this video SUBSUBSERIB for more inspiring true stories EOMINT below. Should I share what happened at their wedding? Your support means everything. Thank you for being part of this journey. My son's wedding day revealed a secret that shook everyone. Part 2. I stood outside the bridal suite tour in this case. The groom's suite, my hand frozen on the doorknob. Inside, I could hear muffled voices, then sudden silence. Then Ethan's voice, sharp with panic. Alex, we need to tell them. We can't do this. Not today. Not like this. My heart stopped. Tell us what? The wedding was in 2 hours. 300 guests were already arriving. What secret had my son and his fiancée been hiding? I pushed open the door. The look of absolute terror on both their faces told me everything was about to change. Again, my name is Robert Mitchell. And I thought I knew everything about my son Alex and his fiancé Ethan. After 4 years together, after coming out, after building a life in front of our eyes, what could possibly be left to hide? I was about to find out. The morning of the wedding started perfectly. Sarah and I had arrived at the venue, a beautiful restored barn in the Columbia River Gorge, at dawn to oversee final preparations. The weather was flawless, the flowers were stunning, and everything was going according to plan. Alex and Ethan had spent the previous night apart, honoring the tradition of not seeing each other before the ceremony. Alex stayed at our house, and Ethan stayed with his Aunt Margaret and Uncle Tom. They'd both seemed nervous at breakfast, but I'd chalked it up to normal wedding day jitters. Around 10 a.m., I went to check on Alex in the groom's suite. He was supposed to be getting dressed with his best man, Marcus, and a few close friends. But when I arrived, the room was empty except for Alex and Ethan. They weren't supposed to be together yet. They were standing close, foreheads almost touching, having what looked like an intense, whispered argument. Ethan's hands were on Alex's shoulders, and Alex looked like he was on the verge of tears. That's when I heard Ethan say it. Alex, we need to tell them. We can't do this. Not today. Not like this. I knocked, and they sprang apart like teenagers caught making out. Dad. Alex's voice cracked. You're not supposed to be here yet. I came to check on you. I looked between them, my stomach sinking. What's going on? What do you need to tell us? Ethan and Alex exchanged a look, one of those wordless conversations they'd perfected over 4 years. Finally, Alex took a deep breath. I need to talk to you and Mom, together, right now. Alex, the wedding starts in 2 hours, I know. But this can't wait. The fear in his voice was real. I pulled out my phone and texted Sarah to meet us in the bride's room, empty, since we didn't have a bride. 5 minutes later, the 4 of us were sitting in a circle on vintage couches, surrounded by white roses and tulle. While my mind raced through worst-case scenarios, were they calling off the wedding? Was someone sick? Had something terrible happened? Sarah reached across and took both boys' hands. Whatever it is, just tell us. We're here. Alex and Ethan looked at each other again. Then Ethan spoke. 3 months ago, we made a decision. A big decision. And we didn't tell you because we wanted to wait until after the wedding, but now it feels wrong to get married with this secret between us. What decision? I asked, my voice barely steady. Alex pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times, then turned it toward us. On the screen was a photo of a little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, with dark curly hair, brown skin, and huge eyes that seemed to look straight into your soul. Her name is Sophia, Alex said softly. She's 7 years old. She's been in foster care since she was 3, and we're adopting her. The silence in that room was deafening. I stared at the photo, then at Alex, then at Ethan, then back at the photo. Sarah's hand had gone to her mouth. You're what? I finally managed. We're adopting her, Ethan repeated, his voice stronger now that the secret was out. We applied to be foster parents 6 months ago. We got certified 3 months ago. Sophia came to live with us on a trial basis 8 weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, the state approved our petition to adopt. It'll be finalized in 30 days. You've had a child living with you for 2 months and you didn't tell us? Sarah's voice was more hurt than angry. We wanted to, Alex said desperately. God, Mom, we wanted to tell you so badly. But the social worker said it was better to wait until the placement was stable. So many foster situations fall through, and we didn't want to get everyone's hopes up if it didn't work out, and now? I asked, still trying to process this information. It was real. She's ours. Legally, officially, permanently ours as of 2 weeks ago. Ethan pulled out his own phone and showed us more pictures. Sophia on a swing. Sophia eating ice cream? Sophia between Alex and Ethan on a couch, reading a book. Where is she now? Sarah asked. With Margaret and Tom. They've been watching her while we handle wedding stuff. They're bringing her to the ceremony. Alex's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry we didn't tell you. I'm sorry we kept this secret. But we were scared. Scared it wouldn't work out? Scared you'd think we were too young? Scared you'd try to talk us out of it? His voice broke completely, and Sarah immediately pulled him into her arms. Oh, sweetheart, we wouldn't have talked you out of it. We might have had questions, concerns, but we would have supported you. You know that now, Ethan said quietly. But in the moment, we were just terrified. The system is already biased against same-sex couples adopting. We didn't want any additional complications. We needed to prove we could do this on our own first. I looked at this young man, 22 years old, still in law school, about to get married, and saw not a kid playing house, but a man who'd made an impossible decision and followed through with it. A man who'd opened his home and heart to a child who needed both. Tell us about her, I said. Alex's face transformed. Despite the tears, despite the stress, when he talked about Sophia, he lit up in a way I'd never seen before. She's incredible. Dad, she's been through so much. Her biological parents struggled with addiction. She went through 3 foster homes before US, but she's so resilient. She loves books. She's obsessed with dinosaurs. She asks a million questions about everything. She's smart and funny, and she has this laugh that it fills up our whole apartment. She calls me Ethan Dad and Alex Papa, Ethan added with a soft smile. She came up with it herself. She wanted to make sure we each had our own special name. Sarah was openly crying now. Can we meet her? Before the ceremony? Are you sure? Alex asked. We don't want to make today weird or overwhelming. Alex Mitchell, you just told me I have a granddaughter. I'm not waiting another 2 hours to meet her, he called Margaret, who brought Sophia over immediately. I watched through the window as they walked across the parking lot, a tiny girl in a purple dress holding Margaret's hand, looking around at everything with wide-eyed curiosity. When they walked into the room, Sophia immediately spotted Alex and Ethan and ran to them. Papa, Ethan, Dad, you're wearing fancy clothes? We are, Alex said, scooping her up. We're getting married today, remember? I remember. Aunt Margaret said, I get to throw flowers. She paused, then whispered loudly, Are those your parents? The ones from the pictures. Alex carried her over to where Sarah and I were standing, both of us frozen with emotion. Sophia, these are my parents. This is my dad, and this is my mom. But you can call them whatever you're comfortable with. Sophia studied us with those enormous eyes, then said with complete seriousness, Do you like dinosaurs? I burst out laughing. I do now. Good, Papa says. You have to like dinosaurs if you want to be in our family. It's a rule. Then I guess I better start learning their names, Sarah said, kneeling down to Sophia's level. Can you teach me? I can teach you lots. I know all of them. Even the ones with the really long names that nobody can say. We spent the next hour with Sophia. She showed us her book about dinosaurs well loved. With pages flagged and notes in the margins in Alex's handwriting, she told us about her room in Alex and Ethan's apartment, decorated with a mural that Ethan had painted of a dinosaur landscape. She explained very seriously that she was going to be the flower girl, and she'd been practicing not eating the petals. Papa said they're not for eating, but they smell like they should be for eating, she confided. Watching Alex and Ethan with her was like watching puzzle pieces click into place. The way Ethan absently fixed her hair bow. The way Alex cut her sandwich into tiny dinosaur shapes without thinking about it. The way she leaned into them with complete trust, like she'd always belonged there. How long have you wanted this? I asked Alex quietly while Sophia was showing Sarah her flower basket. Since I started volunteering at the youth center, I saw so many kids aging out of foster care with nowhere to go. And Ethan and I talked about our future, not just the wedding, but after. We both wanted kids eventually. When we found out there was a need for foster parents, especially for older kids and kids of color, it felt like something we could do. Something we should do? You're 21 years old? Most people your age are worried about student loans, not raising a child. I know. But Ethan aged out of one kind of system, and Sophie is aging through another. We understand what it's like to need someone to choose you. We wanted to be those people for her. God, when did my baby boy become this man? This incredible, compassionate, brave man who saw a need and filled it without hesitation? I'm so proud of you, I said, my voice rough. Both of you. But Alex, raising a child is hard. Raising a child who's been through trauma is even harder. Are you prepared for that? We have a therapist. Sophia has a therapist. We're part of a support group for adoptive parents. We're not doing this blind, Dad. We've been preparing for months. In school, we're managing. I took a lighter course load this semester. Ethan's internship is flexible. Margaret and Tom help when we need it. It's not easy, but nothing worth doing is easy. He sounded like me, like something I would have said to him when he was younger. The cycle of wisdom, passing from generation to generation. At noon, we had to start getting ready for the ceremony. Sophia went back with Margaret to get her flower basket and instructions. Sarah and I went to our seats. Alex and Ethan went to their respective preparation rooms. Before we separated, Alex hugged me tight. Are you mad that we didn't tell you? I'm not mad. I'm sad we missed the first 2 months of Sophia's life with you. But I understand why you waited. And now that we know, we're going to be the best grandparents that little girl has ever seen. She's never had grandparents before, not ones who wanted her. Then we have a lot of spoiling to make up for. The ceremony was beautiful. Ethan stood at the altar in a charcoal gray suit, his hands clasped in front of him to keep them from shaking. Alex walked down the aisle with Sarah on one side and me on the other. We'd both insisted on giving our son away. When we reached the front, Sarah kissed Alex's cheek and I hugged him. "Love you, son. Love you too, Dad." Then he took his place next to Ethan, and they looked at each other with such pure joy that the entire venue seemed to glow with it. Sophia came down the aisle next, very seriously throwing rose petals with intense concentration. She made it halfway before she forgot about the petals and ran straight to Alex, who picked her up and held her while the officiant spoke. "We are gathered here today to witness the union of Alex Mitchell and Ethan Cross," the officiant began. "But this ceremony is not just about two people making a commitment to each other. It's about three people becoming a family." Alex and Ethan had written their own vows. Alex went first, his voice steady, despite the tears streaming down his face. "Ethan, 4 years ago you met me in a bookstore and somehow saw past all my fear and insecurity to the person I could become. You've been my best friend, my partner, my home. And now you're going to be my husband and Sophia's Ethan dad. And I can't imagine anything more perfect than the family we're building together." Ethan's voice shook as he spoke. "Alex, you saved my life. Not dramatically, not in one big moment, but in 1,000 small ones. Every time you laughed at my jokes, every time you held my hand when the world felt too big, every time you chose me, even when choosing me was complicated, you taught me that family isn't just what you're born into, it's what you build. And today, I'm choosing you and Sophia. Today, tomorrow, and every day after." There wasn't a dry eye in the venue. After they exchanged rings, the officiant turned to Sophia. "Sophia, do you understand what's happening today?" She nodded very seriously. "Papa and Ethan Dad are getting married so we can all be a forever family." "That's right. And they have something they want to ask you." Alex knelt down, still holding Sophia, so he was at her eye level. Ethan knelt beside them. "Sophia, we're a family now. Legally and officially and forever. But there's one more thing we want to make official. What do you think about changing your last name to Mitchell Cross? So we all match?" Sophia's eyes went huge. "Really? I can have your last names." "If you want to," Ethan said gently. "I want to. I want to be Sophia Mitchell Cross." She threw her arms around both of them, and the entire venue erupted in applause. The officiant had to wait for the noise to die down before he could continue. "Then by the power vested in me by the state of Oregon, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss your husband." Alex and Ethan kissed while Sophia, still in Alex's arms, made exaggerated gagging noises that sent the whole venue into laughter. Then they walked back down the aisle as a family of three, and I watched my son begin this new chapter of his life. At the reception, Sophia was the star of the show. She danced with everyone, told anyone who would listen about her dinosaur collection, and fell asleep during dinner with her head on Alex's lap. "She's had a big day," Margaret said fondly, smoothing Sophia's curly hair. "We all have," Sarah said, looking at me with tears in her eyes. "Robert, we're grandparents. We are. I need to buy toys and books, and I need to learn about dinosaurs. Oh God, I don't know anything about 7-year-old girls. You raised Alex, you'll figure it out." Alex never went through what Sophia's gone through. She's going to need so much patience and love and understanding. "Then it's good she has us," I said simply. Later, during the father-son dance, I held Alex while we swayed to an old jazz standard. Sophia was dancing nearby with Ethan, standing on his feet. "Good." I asked Alex. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "What if we screw up? What if we're not good enough for her?" "You will screw up. All parents do. But you'll also love her fiercely and show up every single day, and that's what matters. You and Ethan are giving her something she's never had: stability, safety, and unconditional love. That's everything. You saw her file, Dad. The things she went through before she came to us. His voice broke. No child should have to experience that. No, they shouldn't. But she has you now. And Ethan, and your mom and me, and Margaret and Tom. She has a whole family ready to make sure she never feels alone again. Promise me something, Alex said. Anything. Promise me you'll tell her stories about me when I was little. The embarrassing ones and the good ones. I want her to know that families aren't perfect, that everyone makes mistakes, but love holds everything together anyway. I promise. And Alex, you're going to be an incredible father. How do you know? Because you already are. The night ended with sparklers and laughter, and Sophia, wide awake again, running through the crowd of guests collecting fireflies in a jar. Alex and Ethan stood together watching her, arms around each other, and I saw the future unfold before them, messy and complicated and beautiful. On the drive home, Zara was already making plans. We need to set up the guest room as Sophia's room for when she stays over. And I'll talk to Margaret about coordinating schedules so we can help with pickups and drop-offs. And we should plan a family vacation. Do 7-year-olds like the beach? Sarah, breathe. I can't breathe. We have a granddaughter. A granddaughter who needs us. She does. But tomorrow. Tonight, let's just be grateful for the family we have. 3 months later, our Sophia's adoption was finalized on a Tuesday in October. The whole family crowded into the courtroom, Alex and Ethan in suits. Sarah and me, Margaret and Tom, and a handful of close friends. The judge asked Sophia if she understood what was happening. Becoming a Mitchell Cross forever, Sophia said confidently. Which means I belong to Papa and Ethan, Dad, and they belong to me. Forever and ever. Even if I'm bad sometimes. Even when you're bad sometimes, Alex corrected gently. The judge smiled. That's exactly right. Congratulations, Sophia Mitchell Cross. Welcome to your forever family. Sophia got to bang the gavel, the highlight of her entire week. And then we all went out for ice cream to celebrate. Being grandparents to Sophia has been an adventure. She stays with us every other weekend. Our once quiet house is now filled with dinosaur toys, art projects, and a 7-year-old's endless questions about everything. Grandpa, why is the sky blue? Grandpa, where do thoughts come from? Grandpa, if dinosaurs came back, would they be nice or mean? I answer as best I can, and when I don't know, we look it up together. Sarah has become an expert in managing Sophia's big emotions, the tantrums that come from years of instability, the nightmares. The moments when Sophia tests boundaries to see if we'll abandon her like everyone else did. We don't. We won't. We're here forever. Last weekend, Sophia asked me about Alex growing up. We were in the backyard looking for bugs, and she said out of nowhere, "Was Papa always this good at being a dad?" Your Papa had to learn, just like everyone else. When he was little, he was scared of a lot of things. The dark, loud noises, making mistakes. Really? Papa's scared of stuff? Everyone's scared of stuff. But being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared. She thought about this, then said, "Papa was scared to tell Grandma and you about me. But he did it anyway." He did. Because he loves you more than he's scared of anything. I love him too. And Ethan, and you and Grandma, and Aunt Margaret, and Uncle Tom. Is it okay to love this many people? My throat got tight. It's more than okay, sweetheart. It's the best thing in the world. She nodded seriously, then went back to examining a beetle on a leaf. Just like that, the profound moment passed. and we were back to bug hunting. That's the thing about being a parent and a grandparent. The big moments matter, but so do the small ones. The quiet afternoons, the bedtime stories, the scraped knees and homework help and learning to ride a bike. Alex and Ethan are building a life, one day at a time. They're not perfect parents, no one is. They get tired, they make mistakes, they sometimes lose patience. But they show up every single day with love and commitment, and Sophia is thriving. Last month, Sophia's therapist said she's making remarkable progress. The nightmares are less frequent. The behavioral outbursts are manageable. She's learning to trust that this family won't disappear. You're doing everything right, the therapist told Alex and Ethan. Consistency, love, clear boundaries. That's exactly what she needs. But I think the real magic isn't in what they're doing. It's in who they are. Two young men who understand what it means to be different, to be afraid, to need someone to choose you. They're giving Sophia what they both needed at her, the unconditional acceptance. And watching them do it is the greatest privilege of my life. Present, D.A. White Knight. We're all gathered at Alex and Ethan's apartment for Sunday. Dinner, a tradition that's held strong, even with the addition of a 7-year-old. Sophia is at the table coloring while Alex cooks and Ethan helps her with a particularly tricky dinosaur outline. Ethan, Dad, how many teeth did a T-Rex have? 50 to 60, I think. We can look it up after dinner. Grandma, did you know T-Rexes had tiny arms, but they were still really strong? I did not know that, Sarah says, smiling at me over Sophia's head. This is my family now. Not just Sarah and Alex anymore, but Ethan and Sophia too. And Margaret and Tom, who've become like family. It's bigger and messier and more complicated than I ever imagined. It's also more beautiful than I ever dreamed. After dinner, Sophia climbs into my lap with a book. Grandpa, will you read to me? Of course. It's a picture book about a dinosaur who feels different from all the other dinosaurs. As I read, Sophia interrupts constantly with commentary and questions. Alex and Ethan are cleaning up in the kitchen, and I can hear them talking quietly, laughing together. When I finish the book, Sophia says, Grandpa, I'm glad Papa sneaked out that night. I blink. What? Papa told me the story? How he used to sneak out to see Ethan, Dad, because he was scared to tell you. But if he hadn't been brave, they wouldn't be together. And if they weren't together, they wouldn't have adopted me. So I'm glad he was brave. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. She snuggles closer. Do you think Papa was scared when he met me? The first time? Maybe a little. Were you scared? Really scared? I thought they wouldn't like me. I thought they'd send me back like the other families. But they didn't. No. They kept me. She says it with wonder, like she still can't quite believe it. They chose me. They did. And we all chose you too. You're stuck with us now. Good. I want to be stuck. Alex appears in the doorway, watching us with soft eyes. Sophia, it's almost bedtime. Go brush your teeth. But Grandpa's reading to me. Grandpa will be here next weekend, teeth. Now. She sighs dramatically, but slides off my lap and heads to the bathroom. Alex sits down beside me. She really loves you and Mom. You know that, right? The feeling's mutual. I'm sorry we kept her a secret for so long. I know it hurt you. I understand why you did it. But Alex, from now on, no more secrets. Whatever happens in your life, good or bad, let us be part of it. Let us help. Deal. He pauses. Dad, thank you for accepting all of this. The coming out. Ethan, Sophia, all of it. I know it wasn't what you imagined for me. You're right. It wasn't. What I imagined was so much smaller than what you've built. You've created something extraordinary, a family based on love and choice and courage. I'm honored to be part of it. Alex hugs me tight. I love you, Dad. Love you too, son. When Sarah and I leave an hour later, Sophia is asleep in her dinosaur-covered bedroom. Alex and Ethan are on the couch together, and everything is peaceful. In the car, Sarah takes my hand. Can you believe it? Our son is a father. Son is a great father. He and Ethan are giving that little girl everything she needs. She's changed them. Made them even better than they already were. That's what kids do. They show you who you really are. We drive home in comfortable silence. And I think about that note from 4 years ago, Dad. I'm sorry. If Alex hadn't left that note, if I hadn't followed him, if we hadn't had that conversation in the boathouse, we'd be here now. Would our family look like this? Maybe. Maybe not. But I'm grateful for every twist and turn that led us to this moment. Epiologio Sophia is 8 now. She's confident, funny, and so smart it sometimes scares me. She still loves dinosaurs, but she's also discovered space and wants to be an astronaut. She has friends at school, a beloved teacher, and a therapist she trusts. Most importantly, she has a family who will never let her go. Last week, she had a presentation at school about families. She brought in photos, one of Alex and Ethan on their wedding day, one of all of us at Thanksgiving. One of her with Sarah making cookies. Her teacher called. Alex afterward to say that Sophia had stood in front of the class and said, "I used to not have a family. But then my papa and Ethan dad chose me. And now I have the biggest family ever. I have 2 dads and 2 grandparents and a great-aunt and great-uncle, and we all love each other so much." When Alex told me this story, he cried. She said, "I used to not have a family, Dad." Past tense. Like that life is over, and this is her real life now. It is her real life now. You made sure of that. We all did. You and Mom, Margaret, and Tom, we're all raising her together. That's what families do. The journey from that first night in the boathouse to here has been long and winding. There have been struggles and fears and moments of doubt. But there has also been so much love that transformed fear into courage, secrets into truth, and a broken little girl into a thriving child with a future full of possibility. My son kept sneaking out at night, and it changed our lives forever. But not in the way I feared. In the way we needed, he found love. He found himself. He found his family, and in doing so, he gave us ours. The end. Did this story touch your heart? Like if you believe love makes a family, SUBSCRB. For more true stories, COMONT. What should I share next? Sophia's first day of school. The moment she first called me Grandpa. Thank you for being part of our family's journey.